Oh, hey Planeswalker, didn't see you there. Look, I'm kind of busy at the moment. Oh, you wanted the rest of the story? Oh, sure, we can do that. It's not like I'm busy.
We return to our story at its climax. Ebenezer Manor Moot, after receiving a visit from the ghost of Christmas past, fell back asleep and he slept through the night. So after our hero slept through all the ghost visits, he awoke and he soon realized what had happened. Not a moment sooner, the punishment geist of St. Draft had talked about made itself known.
Wait, please, come on. I promise I'll change. Please, anything but this.
That is when a mysterious voice answered back.
Yes, anything.
What is the ultimate commander?
The ultimate commander? Why would you ask me that? Wait a minute.
That is when Manor Moot noticed the giant plug labeled simulation in the corner of his room.
Wait, don't touch that.
What's up, Planeswalkers? How you doing? Welcome back and Happy New Year. We're starting the year off with a bang. For the next week, we are doing viewer request madness. So today's viewer request is for Junji, the Midnight Sky, a 2 black and 3 colorless 5/5 dragon spirit that has a death trigger that makes opponents discard 2 cards and lose 2 life, or we can return a non-dragon creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield under our control. Now the obvious thing to do with this commander is to build around the reanimate ability, but I've already done that twice. Today our strategy is all about aristocrat things. We are either going to value out or combo out the table. Now before I get started, if you're new here, I do request, so if you have a commander you want covered in a video, leave it in the comments or join our channel Discord. Starting off, we have creatures, and no aristocrat deck is complete without Blood Pet, a cheap little creature that can be used for some extra mana. Carrion Feeder is an old classic sacrifice outlet, and importantly, it is a zombie. Now why is that important? It's because we're playing Gravecrawler. It is our first cheap, repeatable sack fodder. It needs a zombie so that we can recast it from the graveyard, and that is a cast trigger, which comes in handy later. Gutterbones is more cheap sack fodder that only requires one of our opponents to have lost life, which shouldn't be a big ask with an aristocrat on the board. Viscera Seer is the best 1 mana sack outlet in the game that can let us manipulate the top card of our library. Blood Artist is a classic aristocrat that has a single targeted trigger, which when we're being honest is actually not that great and there are better alternatives, but when you're in mono black you take as many aristocrats as you can get. And when you think about it, if you have an infinite death loop, the restriction actually isn't that bad. Jadar, Ghoul Caller of Nephalia, can make some cheap tokens for us to sacrifice, and for only 2 mana no less. Reassembling Skeleton is more sack fodder, this time no restrictions, we just need the mana to bring back the card from the dead. Sulaport Cutthroat is just a better Blood Artist, and if you're new to aristocrats, these cards that drain when we lose creatures is a core part of the actual strategy. Ayara, First of Lochthwain, doesn't care about the death, but rather when our creatures ETB, which works with the infinite death loops we make, and she comes with the ability to draw a card. Raid's Arisen Nightmare lets us sack anything for the potential of drawing more cards and 2 damage, which aristocrats are very much a Death of a Thousand Cuts style of deck, so we actually do like that extra damage. Fleshbag is a removal piece that helps us and hurts the opponents, plus when you throw in cards like Grave Pact in your deck, the ceiling for this card gets a lot higher. Rolf's Messenger is part of one of our infinite death loops, and this card comes with the built-in drain. Also, the 3 Devotion helps with other cards. Grim Horror Specs can help draw some cards when we lose our non-token creatures. Lord Skidder Sewer King is a great graveyard hate piece and a good token generator. Just remember, our commander can't steal any creature from a graveyard, so keep that in mind when exiling cards from graveyards. Midnight Reaper is worse Grim Horror Specs because of the damage, but the card draw effect is still good enough. It is still a good enough reason to play it. In fact, we like card draw so much that we're even playing Morbid Opportunist, which only triggers once a turn, but at least it is any creature's death will trigger it. Ophiomancer to make great fodder or blockers, and keep in mind we get a refresh on the Death Touch Snake every upkeep, so make sure you're using it. Pawn of Ulamog to make more creatures that can be used for ramp, and this card also helps some of our infinite death loops. Play Crafter, which can hit planeswalkers, so it has a leg up on the regular Fleshbag Marauder. Woe Strider, which gives us a sack outlet that can come back from the graveyard, which is useful. Crypt Gas for some extra mana from our swamps, and the Extort is a useful source of life. Pitiless Plunderer is a combo piece for the death loop by making treasures on creatures' death. Remember too that we can actually achieve infinite mana with this card with one of our death loops, and with our commander and a sack outlet, that's actually infinite Drain on the table, we wouldn't need an Aristocrat because Junji also does 2 damage when he dies. Ravenous Chupacabra is a removal piece that can be sacrificed and brought back in a pinch with our commander. Solemn Simulacrum is here to do as Solemn does and give us a land and a card upon death. Driftnod, Carnage Dominus to get some extra miles out of our death triggers, including our commanders. Great Merchant of Asphodel is a alternate win con as our devotion should be quite high since we're a monocolored deck. And again, our commander can bring cards back, so there's always potential for more drain. Sir Conrad the Grim for drain when creatures hit the graveyard, and since that drain happened even from mill, this card can quickly get out of hand depending on the other strategies present at the table. Terrorgrade, God of Fright to make use of our Flesh Bag and Grave Pact effects and steal some creatures. Also, this card can be a bit of a red herring for other players, so they'll use the removal on it. That way it kind of clears the way for your other cards. Grave Titan is another combo piece, but on its own it can end the game with a army and a can that it comes with. Abhorrent Overlord is another combo piece that also holds its own. Again, since we're mono black, our devotion should be high enough that this card gives us plenty of fodder. Frick, Son of Yawgmoth, because why use mana to pay for spells when you have a nice juicy life total to use? Moving on, we have our spells. Dark Ritual for an explosive turn. Defile is our 1 mana removal spell. Is it as good as Swords to the Plowshares? Malachir Rebirth, which can be used on our commander before it dies to get some extra value, but it can be a land if we need it to be. Reanimate, since the card is a staple in mono black, and the recursion is always a good idea for consistency. Vampiric Tutor and Demonic Tutor, which tutor cards provide more consistency and provide everyone else at the table a warning. However, Vampiric Tutor is instant speed, so it's not much of a warning. Village Rite for extra cards. Feed the Swarm to remove enchantments and nothing else. Guildred's Edict for its utility, since it can hit planeswalkers and non-token creatures. Torment of Hellfire, because even if you don't have infinite mana, even 8 mana into this spell can set boards back and put your opponents in range for the Drain Train. Toxic Deluge for the obligatory board wipe. I chose this one because I like how cheap it is. Breach the Multiverse for some free creatures and planeswalkers, and since our commander can reanimate certain creatures, full graveyards are to our benefit. For the artifacts and enchantments, I'll start with the ramp, but you already knew that, didn't you? We have the usual suspects. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Charcoal Diamond, Mind Stone, Thought Vessel, and Bantu's Monument, which can double as a way to drain the table with a Gravecrawler loop since we are casting the card. Now for the big stuff, we are running Ashnod's Altar and Phyrexian Altar, both combo pieces of course. One of these are usually required for the death loops we make since it's a sack outlet that gives us mana. Nim Death Mantle creates a death loop with token makers like Grave Titan or undying creatures like Geralf's Messenger. Just keep in mind you'll want Ashnod's Altar to make most of those loops work. Bitter Blossom for a way to get bodies on the board, and Dreadhorde Invasion does something similar, but like Ophiomancer, we'll need to be actively sacking these tokens to get full value. Skull Clamp is a great way to put all those small tokens to use for some extra cards, the Meat Hook Massacre to clear the board and provide with a 2 mana Aristocrat effect, if nothing else. And it's not on a body, so it's actually pretty hard to remove. Bastion of Remembrance fills a similar role, just no board wipe, but hey, you get a token out of it, so that's something. Black Market Connections, a mono black staple that ramps, draws cards, and makes bodies as long as you have the life. The nice little side note is that the tokens Black Market Connection makes have the Changeling, meaning they are technically zombies with our Gravecrawler loop. Phyrexian Arena, the classic extra card draw engine, Grave Pact, so that when we lose our creatures, our opponents will need to sack a creature as well. The 4 Devotion also works with those other cards. Black Market, so that we never have mana issues again, or it gives us the mana to make our Torment of Hellfire lethal. I will say that when it comes to spicing up the deck further, this is a good spot to look when it comes to cuts. Conspiracy is a fun inclusion, and it's in here so that we can remove the dragon type from our commander and make it a zombie. Now we can loop our commander with its own death trigger since it's no longer a dragon. Finally, we have Dictate of Erebos for more Grave Pack action, but this time it's at flash speed so we can surprise the whole table for some extra fun. For the mana base, Swamps will do, but if you'd like to copy a mana base, then help yourself to the one found in the deck list in the description of this video. My land recommendation for this deck is Phyrexian Tower, because having a way to instantly sack a creature on a land can make sure your creatures actually die and don't get exiled by cards like Swords to Plowshares. For the combo section, I'll be showing off one of the combos featured in the deck, but there are a lot more for you to find. For this combo, we'll need Nim Death Mantle, Ashnod's Altar, and Woe Strider. All the cards should be on the battlefield and we'll need at least 2 mana to work with. Start by activating Ashnod's Altar by sacrificing the Woe Strider, adding 2 colorless. When Woe Strider dies, Nim Death Mantle triggers, causing you to pay 4 to return Woe Strider from your graveyard to the battlefield, and reattach Nim Death Mantle to it. When Woe Strider enters the battlefield, it triggers, creating 0/1 Goat creature token. Activate Astronaut's Altar by sacrificing the goat, adding 2 colorless. You can now loop Woe Strider for infinite death triggers. Throw in an Aristocrat and you have a table kill. That's going to be all for today's video, and I do hope you enjoyed it. Let me know how I did, or tell me about your favorite Aristocrat card in the comments below. Subscribe or join to support the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.